Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and doing great. So let's get started. In this today's tutorial, we are going to talk about ethical hacking, and this is the agenda for today. Basically, we are going to talk about what is hacking, what is Python, features of it, the goals of ethical hacking, why ethical hacking is there, all that kind of things. Basically, let's talk about what is hacking. So hacking basically you can say is a fraudulent attempt, an unauthorized attempt on a legitimate system, which is you can say it's basically the unethical hacking, wherein someone is trying to compromise your environment without your permission. Someone is trying to enter in your environment without your permission. That's basically is the hacking. There are different components of it, different attributes, but just a little bit overview about it. And we are going to talk about other things in detail in the upcoming slides. So like in this case, you see that these are the genuine people who are working in the organization. This guy is the hacker who is trying to hack their devices. This was the second person. As you can see, someone is trying to eavesdrop the communication. Now, if you're sending data to someone, like I'm sending my bank account information to my friend over the internet, someone can try to hack it. Someone can try to retrieve that information if that is not secure. That is hacking. Now, what is Python? So Python is basically a programming language, which is an object oriented, which is procedure oriented, and which is a high level programming language, which has dynamic semantics. So this language basically was first of all created in 1989 by Guido Rossum. He was like, this is the name of the person who introduced this language, and it's very simple, very easy to learn. So it's like I said, it's basically object oriented. Object oriented basically means that it uses the concept of OOPS, which is object oriented programming language, wherein you inherit the feature from the today's world, like concept of inheritance, wherein you are inheriting certain features from your parents, your grandparents. Likewise, in the case of object oriented, like you do the same thing. In the programming world, we have the concept of inheritance. We have base class, derived class, super class, subclass, where the class will inherit some of the features and will have its own features as well. And it's a high level language, and it's easy to learn, and it's a procedure oriented. Now let's talk about some of the features of Python. First is simplicity. So Python is designed such a way that you can create the code very easily, and you can even learn the syntax very easily, and you can understand any of the code very easily. It's very straightforward language. Next one is the open source. So being open source is one of the greatest thing about Python, which means that Python is free for everyone to use. There is no cost associated with that. Third is portability. So basically Python code can be written in one computer, like you can written on my computer, and you can execute it on any other machine without any kind of hassle. That's why it makes code sharing very easier. Next one that you have is embedded and extensible. So basically, which means that Python allows code of other language like C, C++ to be embedded into it, through which you can integrate with different languages code so that certain functions can be performed very easily, which basically makes Python very more powerful. Next one basically is the interpreted. So the task of CPU and memory management can be handled easily by Python itself. Next is huge libraries. So Python basically has huge set of libraries like Matplotlib, skitlearn, which basically helps you in solving problems. So you don't have to look for other libraries. It basically has an inbuilt package which has its own libraries. Last one is object orientation, which basically helps you in breaking down the complex problem of the world into the code basically. And it basically provides you high security, and you can use the concept of real life like shared inheritance, encapsulation, data abstraction, like that in the Python. Now, what are the goals of ethical hacking? Let's talk about that. So we can say that ethical hacking has multiple goals. So the primary goals of ethical hacking is to protect the privacy of your organization being hacked, so that only authorized user can access the sensitive data. Then unauthorized user should be not be able to access the data. Next one basically you have is a transparently report, which basically is going to identify the different weakness of your organization, different vulnerabilities of the organization, and you have to fix those vulnerabilities at the prior hand before the hacker can take advantage of, or he can compromise your environment. Next one basically is it's going to inform your hardware software vendor, whether it's a hardware vendor, software vendor, of some of the weaknesses that you can have in your systems basically. Now, let's talk about why ethical hacking. So, the reason why you need ethical hacking is because the information that you have is valuable, because the assets, the digital assets that you're holding, that's valuable. Because if your digital assets are going to be compromised, then in that case, let's say I'm storing my passwords, I'm storing some crypto coins, some cryptocurrency, anything. If my digital assets are compromised, it can compromise everything. So your information is valuable. At the same time, if your data is going to be lost, it can spoil the name and fame of the organization. Now you know that various organizations got hacked recently, like Cognizant, your I would say Accenture, your Zoom, even so many organizations basically got hacked. So it can spoil the name and fame of your company. Now, what is a security threat? Let's talk about it. So, any risk which can potentially harm your computer is known as a security threat, which can be classified into two parts. One is physical, second is non-physical. So, physical threats can be like your internal, external, humans, wherein someone can come to your data center, can steal something. Someone can try to access from external environment to your environment. Your non-physical threats can be like your Trojans, worms, virus, or let's say spywares, like the entire malwares you can say are the non-physical threat. That's something the small diagrammatic representation of it, of physical threats. Now let's talk about some of the preventive measures, how basically we can protect our system from being hacked. So how we can basically protect our system from being compromised. Let's take a look now. So, your organization basically can have certain non-physical threats that we talked about. So your organization have to make sure that your organization is protecting your entire infrastructure, which is part of physical threat, and organization is also protecting your logical security of your system, which is a part of non-physical threat. So organization basically have to make sure that they have installed certain tools, certain software to protect your organization from that. So there can be various tool systems. It can be IDS, IPS. There can be various tools, various systems, various technologies that you have to take care of. So that, like for example, if I'm installing a new software in my system, first of all, as a good security practice, it should not be allowed. And at the same time, if you're installing something, at that time your system should have the proper antivirus, which should scan the entire file. If any case, whenever you're trying to run any of your file on the system, if it does not have, let's say, some of the valid signature, then in that case it should not allow. Basically there is a concept of digital signature, which is again a different concept, but I can give you a little understanding of it, wherein any of the software that you're going to install on your system, if it is a digitally signed and the certificate or that specific software is installed in your system, it's going to trust that software. If it is not going to be, then it's going to give you an error like this type of file can harm your computer, that you generally get. Now through different tools we can impose that the softwares like this, where the signature is not identified, where the signature is not being validated, then in that case it should not basically allow users to install those kind of softwares. So you can just try to put all those kind of controls using different tools. Now let's talk about ethical hacking skills basically. So basically, ethical hacker will require knowledge in different components. Like an ethical hacker should have a knowledge in programming. If you talk about different programming languages like Python, Bash, PHP, SQL, JavaScript, HTML, he should have in-depth knowledge of operating system, and also networking knowledge is also mandatory for that. So that's a major thing in your ethical hacking, like the skill set that you basically require. Like, why to learn this program? Like, what is the need to enroll for the program? I would say there are a couple of reasons. Basically, hackers are basically the problem solver, which can try to find some bug in your organization. Now, if you heard about bug bounty program, wherein what happen is you are invited from various organizations to find the bug into their website or into their product. If you are able to find that bug, and let's say you're going to provide the remediation on that as well, then they're going to reward you with a very good money. And in certain cases even they hire you as well. Like in the case of Zomato, same thing happened. They launched bug bounty program wherein the hacker was able to identify the bug, and they were able to give the remediation. Now that is known as ethical hacking, wherein you are doing something ethically, you are performing a hacking on someone's permission, and you are informing them same. That's ethical hacking. Unethical hacking is wherein something you are trying to get access of someone's system, someone's environment unethically, I would say, which is not professionally, and you're trying to steal that some information, which you can later on use it for your benefit. Like you can try to steal their money, you can put it into your account, and all those kind of things that you can do. So next thing basically is as a basically an ethical hacker, you should know that how you can write the program, how you can automate the task. Now, if I want to, let's say, hack a system, I'm not going to try everything automatically. I mean, sorry, manually. I'm not going to try different queries. I'm not going to try different permutation combinations. I'm going to write a script just to see that whether this system can be hacked easily or not. One of the common example is SQL injection, wherein we use a tool, basically SQL map, just to automate the exploitation. At the same time, you can also integrate with your different system. You can use different tools so that you have a proper knowledge how you can use those tools just to hack the environment. Now, if I talk about certain ethical hacking tools, there are various tools. Like there is a tool NetSparker. You have a Burp Suite tool with the help of which even you can do a packet trace. Now, for example, there is a client and server communication happening. Now, between client and the server, if they, let's say, they are using HTTP, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and someone is trying to log in with the username and password, then only the authorized user will be able to, let's say, is able to access that website. Now, however, it's using HTTP, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Then, in that case, if anyone is going to eavesdrop that communication, even which is I would say an authentic user or non-authentic user, or it's a valid user, invalid user. If someone will try to eavesdrop that communication, he will be able to understand what exactly is going on. Now, for example, like I said, there is a, let's say, a client who is trying to log into Amazon.com, and let's say Amazon is using HTTP, and that person has added, let's say, $1 million into the Amazon wallet, and his credit card information, each and everything is added, and Amazon is using HTTP. So this guy used his email. Let's say his email is abc@gmail.com and his password is test123. He thought that, okay, I'm putting the password, I can only see it. Now, if someone can do a packet trace, and in his network, he will be able to see what is the username and password that he has used. So that can be done basically with packet sniffing tool. So the tools like Wireshark, Burp Suite is like one of those as well, with the help of which you can do a lot of things. This is one of the components that you can do. So you can reveal that information. That's why, as a good security practice, you should use HTTPS, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. So that information which is traveling between client and the server is in the encrypted format, so that only authorized user can understand. The next tool basically you have is Nmap, Acunetics, and Hashcat, SQL Map. There are various tools like that. This is not, the list is not like only with 5-6 tools. You have very like big list of the tools. And if you're going to enroll for the course, we are going to walk you through, make you understand theoretically and the practically on all the different tools, how all these tools works. So let's talk about social engineering. So, what is social engineering? Like I said, basically, social engineering is the way, is basically the art of manipulating users so that you can reveal their sensitive information, confidential information, so that you can get access of their environment. Now, wherein what can happen is the hacker, basically, if he got access of your environment, I mean, he can be like one of the, like a person who can be very rich, because let's say, think about it, he got access of your bank account, and he is able to hack your the entire information, your account number, your routing number, your IFSC code, your SWIFT code, everything, and he can basically withdraw the money from your account, which can become a big nightmare for you, right? The data can be like various things. Like, for example, there are two companies, A and B, which competes with each other, and the B company was able to get the data of A company, like their, let's say, their secret formula, their secret recipe or something, or maybe both these companies were trying to bid for a certain project, which was one of the biggest project, and they were able to, like, the B company was able to see the code of A, which can basically compromise the entire environment. So social engineering basically is a way through which you can just get access of the sensitive information, and then you can use it for the uh, some attacks. You can just try to get into their system unethically, unauthorized way. So that's again one of the thing. That's basically is the social engineering. Now, what are the different phases of social engineering? There are various phases. The major phases, if you talk about, is gathering the information, wherein the hacker will try to get the information of your environment. Then he will try to plan the attack. Okay, now he came to know that this is your username, and he knows that like at this time, a specific time you try to log in, he will try to plan the attack, and then he will try to use some tools based on the attacks that he has to perform, how he can leverage those tools for the attacking, and he will try to make the actual attack now, which is a real thing. Once that basically attack he has performed, he has got the knowledge of your environment, your username, password, then he will be able to access your data without having an authentication, wherein he will just try to log in your account with your credentials. So this is the entire phases of social engineering. Now, for social engineering, there can be various techniques. So the techniques like someone can try to, you know, use certain tools just to eavesdrop the network, just to listen to the conversation. Someone can try to perform the phishing attacks. Someone can try to show you like perform a spoofing attack, wherein he will try to look as a legitimate user, and he will say that okay, click on this link, and once you're going to click on this link, he is going to track your entire sensitive information. So there are various ways that you can do. Again, this is a very big topic, guys, very vast topic. I can have a couple of hours of discussion theoretically and the practically to talk about this. But based on the current time constraint we have, I'm just giving you a little bit overview of it so that you are aware about all these things. At least you have the glimpse of it. Now, we are going to talk about cryptography. Cryptography basically is the Greek word which is a concatenation of two things. One is the crypto and second is graphy. So if I have to show you guys like this crypto and graphy. So crypto basically means, this means secret, graphy means writing. So it means that converting your data from one form to another, converting your readable data to unreadable form, wherein only you can understand and the receiver can understand. So you are going to change the form of your data in such a way that only sender and receiver can understand. For example, my plain text word is I love apples. Let's say this is my sensitive information. I have changed it to in this form. Now I'm sending it to the receiver. If someone will try to perform some eavesdropping, he will try to listen to your conversation, then he will not be able to understand because he is going to get this message. So that's the beauty of cryptography. And the next one that you basically have is crypt analysis. So crypt analysis basically is a way through which the you are will try to decrypt the data without knowing the actual key, without knowing the actual algorithm that you have used. In other words, you are going to use crypt analysis on the algorithm just to see the weakness. For example, I have encrypted, if you go see the last example, I have encrypted, let's say, with the key 1. I have changed this data from this to this. Now in the case of crypt analysis, you will see that how secure your algorithm is, how secure your approach is that you have followed in order to convert the form of data from one form to another. That's a crypt analysis, wherein will try different things. He will try sometimes the time available to convert the form of data, like in this case, let's take in 2 seconds. And I know that, let's say, with one of the algorithm it take 2 seconds, like maybe RSA, AES. Then with that he can just realize that like how much time it is taking to convert it. He will try to have just to know about the computing power, how much time it is taking to compute the power. He will be able to see the storage capacity, how much storage basically like you can have in this case. So that's basically is your cryptanalysis. Next one that you have is a cryptography techniques. So you can have various cryptography techniques wherein brute force attack, dictionary attack, the various kind of attacks which can happen. In order to secure from this, you have the cryptographic algorithm. And for example, if you talk about algorithms, majorly you have symmetric and asymmetric. In symmetric, you basically have AES, you have DES. In your asymmetric, you have your RSA. There are so many algorithms, and you also have hashing algorithm. So cryptographic algorithm helps you in changing the form of data from one form to another, and your hash algorithms basically is to use to check the integrity check if your data basically was changed or not, if data basically was let's say tampered or not during the transit. Now I sent basically a message, transfer $1 million from 1 to B account. Now with the help of your hashing algorithm, you can basically learn and observe and realize that whether that data was tampered or not. Now you have different algorithm for that, like MD5. MD5 basically means message digest 5. So it basically creates 128 hash values, and there is no collision resistance. SHA basically means secure hashing algorithm. It has various versions like SHA-1, SHA-2, SHA-3, and it's one of the most popular hashing algorithm. Next one you have is RC4, which is reverse cipher 4, which is basically used in the protocols like SSL and web. Now let me give you show you an example here. Let's say I want to generate a basically asymmetric key of RSA, and I want to keep the size as 2048-bit key. I have generated these key. This is my public key and this is my private key, the new key which is being generated. Now, once that key is generated, I'm going to use public key for encryption and private key for decryption. So let's say I want to perform the encryption here. So for the encryption, I'm always going to use public key. So let's say this is my data. My data is hi, I am demo. It's going to pick up this public key automatically and it's going to encrypt it. Now, if you want to decrypt the data, you are going to copy this and it's going to fetch up the key automatically, wherein it's going to decrypt. Now, this is one of the way which is like not so I would say, I mean, very effectively created, but there are other ways as well like through which you can do. Let me even give you an example, an overview of it, which can give you basically more understanding. So like I said, even this is something I'm using online, wherein it basically has used Java language for that. That's another way. It's also using Java, wherein let's say you are going to create 2048-bit key. I have created two keys, public and private. Now I want to encrypt the data. I'm going to copy the public key and I'm going to mention my plain text. I'm saying that my plain text is, hi, I have $1 million in 123 this account. Okay. This is my data. Now, in order to encrypt this, I'm going to copy this public key. And please take a look very carefully now. I said encryption can be done with the public key. I have copied the public key. You are going to click on encrypt. It's going to create the encrypted output. Now, this encrypted output, I'm going to send it towards the receiver. Now, only the authorized person can understand this. Now, this is encrypted text, and I have to mention the basically private key here. Now, if I want to click on decrypt, it's going to retrieve the same message. Now, let's say if I'm going to change something like from here, let's say I'm going to copy a different key, and if I'm going to now click here on decrypt, it's going to give me an error because you have to use the same key. You see now, clicked on decrypt, it gave me an error. Now, in order to read that data, I have to use that same key basically, which is this. Now I will be able to see my plain text data. Again, it's a very vast field, guys. This is something I want to give you a glimpse of it, just to give you a fair understanding. I mean, otherwise, like this is a very long discussion, very long topic, so that you can have a fair understanding. You can have the glimpse of it. So I hope you guys have got a fair understanding about the topic that we have discussed. Okay, guys, thank you for joining this today's webinar. Stay safe and wishing you a great day ahead. Bye bye.